What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D, and I am so glad that I saw this recently because it gives me an opportunity to tell you guys a personal story about my wife and I being empty nesters, dining out, and some of our favorite restaurant servers, wait staff, and bartenders. So, as you guys know, my wife and I are empty nesters now, and it's become a running joke in the house that if I get a call from her at the end of my workday, it's usually going to consist of her saying, "Are you cooking tonight or am I cooking tonight?" And then it ends with us both agreeing that neither of us feel like cooking and we should go out and eat. So we've began to frequent a certain restaurant in the town where I work. And I love it. The first time I went there, I ordered a cocktail for myself and I ordered one for my wife, and my wife wasn't there yet. And the waitress there said, I can't allow you to order for someone who I'm not able to check her ID. So let's wait until she gets here. And I was like, okay, cool. And that was like the first time we went there. Since then, this same server has been pretty much our server almost every time. I'd say if we go there, 10 times in a month, we may get her 7 of the times and someone else 3 of the times. And, a couple of the wait staff people there are former students of mine and everything as well. So a lot of them know me as a coach, as an educator, and so forth. So it's come to a point now that when we walk in, the bartender says, "Hey, coach, what's up?" The wait staff will say what's up to us. The waitress will come up and she will typically say, "So you're having this to drink and she's having this to drink." And then we'll say, "Yeah, and then she'll say to me, "Are you having a calamari?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I'm having a calamari," whatever, right? And then typically my wife doesn't really have an appetizer. She'll either, have a little bit of my calamari, or she will, have some spinach and artichoke dip. But they pretty much know us. It feels like Cheers. And if you guys are old enough to remember Cheers, it's like we go in there and people know who we are. And it's actually a pretty big restaurant and bar. And so one thing that I've always done is I've always tipped well. I've tipped well for a couple of reasons. One, when I get good service, I tip well. When I get bad service, I still tip well because sometimes I have to put myself in a person's shoes and I don't know what they're going through. And typically, no one is doing a job to be mean or rude or make mistakes or anything like that. That's just something that I know because we're all people. We're all human. We all make mistakes. And so I typically tip well because I also realize that establishments don't pay their staff enough. And I tip, and so here's the thing. Just yesterday, and this is why I'm so happy I saw this, and it really put a smile on my face. Yesterday, I walk into a small coffee house in my town, where this is another place we frequent as well. And so when I walk in there, I see my waitress. Now, I knew that she lived in my town because at some point she said to us, "Hey, I heard that your daughter is," and she named our daughter, and she said, "I went to high school with her. I had some classes with her. How's she doing?" And she knows that she runs track in college and so forth. So we talked about that. And so then I knew she lived in my town. So when I walked in, she was sitting there with a friend of hers and they were having a coffee, and she sees me and her eyes light up and she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" I also come in this place a lot too because I think it's funny that they notice that my wife and I always come in the restaurant a lot. And then she looks at her friend and she's like, "This guy and his wife are like my favorite customers. They're awesome." And I was just like, and I have to think that maybe part of it is because we tip well. I don't know. But also we talk to her a lot. I mean, she's just an awesome person and everything, right? And then she asked where my wife was, and I'm like, "Oh, she's on her way. We're meeting here for lunch." And so my wife came in, and she said hi to her, and it was awesome. So when I see a sign like this, right, that says, if you're gonna come in here and eat, make sure you're gonna give a 25% tip, or else don't come in here. And it's signed by the management. It really pisses me off because if you own an establishment and you can't pay your staff a living wage, I'm sorry, but you should not own that establishment. See, the responsibility shouldn't be on me the customer to make sure that your staff is paid well. It is on you. And so I know some people, even in these smaller restaurants, you have this dream, right? You want to own a restaurant. But more so in these bigger establishments, right? These huge corporations that own these chain restaurants that don't pay their staff enough have the damn nerve to say, well, that's on you. If you're going to come here to eat and have drinks, you need to pay them more. And I want to make sure this is very clear. I think we should tip well. I don't think we should do it because we have the responsibility to do it. I think we should do it because we're good people. We should tip well for the same reason the goddamn restaurants should pay them well. We need to stop having the argument over how much we should be tipping people and start putting our knee on the neck of these companies to make sure that they're paying their employees a livable wage. This is ridiculous that a company would have the nerve to say to us, you need to do better because we're not. Imagine if that were the case in everything. Hey, tip your teachers because we're not going to pay them anymore. Tip your grocery store clerk because we're not paying them enough. Meanwhile, these companies are making billions of dollars. Understand something. If they paid their employees an extra $1 or $2 an hour, they would still be making billions. It would not change these CEOs' lives at all. And it pisses me off because I think of the waitress that we have, the server, the bartender that we have that are awesome people who deserve to be paid a livable wage. I don't care your opinions on, oh, well, then they should go get a degree. Screw you. If you show up to those places, if you show up there, they're essential. They're essential enough that they cook the meals on the nights my wife and I don't feel like doing it. They deserve to be paid. I don't care about what you think your hierarchy is. I don't care if you think, oh, they're entry-level positions. No, I don't care. Everyone who works should be paid a livable wage. I'm not going to argue with anyone on this. I'm going to stand firm on this, and I wish more people in America would take this more seriously. I don't know what we have to do to make these establishments understand. They need to pay their people more. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.